You are listening to the Disney Dream Girls, an unofficial Disney theme parks podcast, and this is show number 212 for the 3rd of June 2018.
Where dreams begin.
Hello and welcome to the Disney Dream Girls. My name is Michelle Young, and together with my jolly good friend Jayne Phipps, we are your guides to the place where dreams begin. It's a big hello there to old Jayne. How are you, my lovely?
I'm very well, my dear. I've had a lovely week off. I don't know about you.
It's been a week off. Yeah, I did a bit of marking. When I say a bit of marking, I had about 233 pieces of work I decided to go through and remark again, as you do.
As you do, yeah.
I had all the windows replaced in my house, which took a little bit longer than anticipated because each window is about 9 foot high over 4 floors.
Yeah. Not an easy one, Michelle, I wouldn't have thought.
No, the poor lads who came to do it, they were outside on scaffolding and they were like taking bets on who was going to be the one outside because they were all scared of heights.
It's not really good, is it, for glaziers?
I don't think their boss had told them how high my building was.
Oops.
Yeah, but hey-ho. So at least now I in the cold winter of the UK, I won't be having cold, drafty windows. So, yay.
Yeah, worthwhile.
It has been, my lovely. I've done a few nice little things. I've had some cruise chat with the wonderful Kat and Lewis organising our little trip.
Of course, yes.
It's getting so close,
Yeah, it's not long now, is it?
I know our Patreon people will have heard me talking with Becky a little bit more detail about some of the amazing things I've booked to do on the cruise, and a bit nearer to the time I'll share it with everybody else. But yeah, we've got a very, very polished plan.
So not like you, Michelle.
So not like me, Jayne. I've not just got an Excel spreadsheet, I have got a Word document with a day-by-day itinerary, costings and everything.
And having been on the receiving end of your planning, Michelle, I can assure everybody that it will be extensive.
It is, but this time's, it's not 12:15 toilet break type planning. Oh, no. It's sort of free-flowy once you're in the park. You have to do your research and book your ADRs and your fast passes.
Yeah.
Everything else other than that, as long as you know what time the parks are open and closed, what time the parades are, what time the shows are, and you have a vague idea what you want to do, everything else is go with the flow shell.
Yay.
Anyway, without further ado, after we've had our little catch-up and hello, let's pop on our Kieran for On This Week in Disney History.
Ooh.
Hello my lovelies, and welcome back to this day in Disney history. Yet again, I've been pulled out of my bed. I was peacefully asleep, but I was dragged out of it to do this thing. So let's get started. And with me today I have guests, 2 cats. You gonna say hello? There we go. Marvellous. Now, let's get started, shall we? Did you know that the first bakery inside Disneyland was called the Puffin Bakery? Well, I'm kicking this week off with its closure on the 3rd of June 1960. It had been open since 1955 and was located next to the Penny Arcade on Main Street, USA. And whilst last week's show was a reprieve for the Snow White themed news, it is back this week with, on the 4th of June 1938, a wrap party was held at the Noconian Hotel in California. This 2-day bash is also noted as a big event for Mickey Mouse too, as a 7-page program that the guests received had a drawing of Mickey Mouse by Ward Kimball, and it was the first time he was drawn with black pupils. Keeping on with the 4th, but moving on to 1990, the Walt Disney World Dolphin Hotel opened, which was the first Disney hotel I actually stayed at back when I went to go to Walt Disney World in Florida back in 2010. The design by architect Michael Graves is noted for its whimsical design, and I believe Michelle and Jayne will chat more about this in the show. Onwards on to the 5th of June 1971, and Walt Disney World saw the If You Had Wings attraction open. This airline-sponsored attraction took guests on a journey through the places that they flew to. It continued its flights for 15 years before closing. Also on this date in 1995, the building of Animal Kingdom was announced. Now to the 7th of June 1946, some British Disney news. Due to World War II, the BBC had not been broadcasting, so to welcome and to engage viewers once more, on this day viewers were treated to Mickey's Gala premiere. The last time they would have seen this was during its premiere in 1939, 2 days after the invasion of Poland. Finally, to the 8th of June 1902, the baptism of Elias and Flora's son, Walter, at St. Paul's Congregational Church. Elias Disney, a carpenter, had helped in its construction and had strong ties to the congregation, with Flora also playing the church organ. Well, that's it for me. Any last words? Okay, no last words. They're just going to be unsociable. You know, that's typical cats, eh? Typical cats. Anyway, goodbye.
Now, it's interesting there in the news that Kieran mentioned about the 1990 opening of the Walt Disney World Dolphin Hotel. I know you've not yourself actually stayed there, but have you actually ever visited?
No.
Well, it's a handy little stopping spot.
I've wandered through, yes, only very briefly. More as a little sneaky peek to have a look in on the way to Fantasia Gardens Miniature Golf, randomly.
They've recently refurbed the lobby area of the Dolphin and it looks sensational.
Yeah.
And I can do nothing but praise the wonderful Blue Zoo. The food there is divine.
Oh, right, okay.
And there's a nice little sort of lounge area you can just slip into and have a little snack. So if you're at Epcot or at DHS and you just want to get out of the theme park, Mickey in your face type vibe, then I find it perfect because there is Disney elements there, but you're not submerged with it, because I don't know if all our listeners will know, the very first trip I did to Walt Disney World, I stayed at the Dolphin for 3 weeks.
That's right, yeah.
I really enjoyed it, but when we were doing the research about the Kieran facts, I found out a little bit of backstory about Michael Graves. And those of you who know his work will know he's like postmodernist. He also worked on and designed the studios for Walt Disney over in Burbank.
Yeah.
And basically, the story behind the hotels of Swan and Dolphin began with this idea for Dolphin. And he basically said it was an island that was formed by a sudden cataclysmic event, such as an underwater volcano or an earthquake that had just gone kapow. Okay?
Right.
So this island then emerged from under the water and it lifted the dolphins up to the top of the hotel. And that's why there's a dolphin on the roof. You know, as you do. Yeah, 63-foot tall dolphin.
Yeah.
And on the sort of side of the building, there's banana leaves representing the foliage on the island.
I always wondered what they were. Thank you for that, Michelle. Thank you.
And there's a big black box in the middle. Now, a lot of people, there was this urban myth saying, oh, well, that was there so that a monorail could be slotted through. Absolute tosh.
Okay.
The black box is actually the beating heart of the mountain.
Of course.
So, yeah, very imaginative, creative architect.
Yeah. No, they are. I mean, both hotels actually that are stunning. You see them from the roadways and go, oh yeah, big dolphin, lovely. And it's not until you actually walk through and you get up close and you go, wow, that is rather high and that is rather large up there. What would happen if it fell off? It's just random thoughts that go through my head anyway, and I'm walking around.
Yeah, I'll go back again and mention my stay. I booked with Virgin Holidays and there was 5 of us going. And we got there and we had a 2-bedded room and there was 5 of us staying.
Yay! Doesn't quite work out, does it?
The maths didn't work out. So I went downstairs to sort of say, hang on a minute, I think you've put me in the wrong room. And basically there was an armchair in the room, which every night I had to transfer into a bed. Now, bearing in mind at the time, I think Kieran would have been 10. And he was at his height of his ADHD, running around the room type zone.
Yeah.
With the bed up, there was no room to move.
Right, yeah.
Bearing in mind,
space, yeah.
We'd also gone for 3 weeks. We had nowhere to put 3 weeks of luggage and clothing for 5 people.
Yeah.
So I was really, really angry and quite cross that I'd spent a big big chunk of change. It was a very expensive trip for a room that was not fit for purpose. So bless them, they upgraded us and we ended up with a kitchen suite which had 2 double beds again, but then a double sofa bed, and there was tons of room.
Yeah.
So if you are going in a similar scenario with 3 children, don't forget to have a look at Swan and Dolphin, because they do have these kitchen suites, and the kitchen area is really useful because you can do a little bit of light brunch if you want to have, something to eat in the room before you hit the parks.
Yeah, that's very true.
And, if you want to go back to the hotel mid-afternoon to sort of relax before going out in the evening, it's great because there's plenty of space in that sort of scenario to do so.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving away from that, we have had a lovely iTunes review from a lovely lady called Amber K. Nichols. So, Amber, thank you. We love you. And she basically said, thanks for the podcast. We're helping her plan a Walt Disney World trip.
Oh, we aim to help, don't we, Michelle?
We do, but if you do have any specific questions, why not get in touch with us? You can always email us, info@disneydreamgirls.com. You can send us a message on our Facebook page. Just look for Disney Dream Girls, give us a click like, and then message us. And you can also tweet us at DisDreamGirls on Twitter. And we do have an Instagram presence with Disney_Dream_Girls, where you can communicate with us that way too. We did have a bit of fun and games on the old Facebook page on Monday though, Jane.
Did we, Michelle?
I saw what you put.
Well, you do have this habit, Michelle, and it is kind of following you around a bit now, that you have a bit of reputation, my dear, for not being able to stay awake during a film of any description.
Yeah, I must admit, some people have sort of said, oh, it's Star Wars, I'm surprised that you're going. I do like Star Wars, Yeah. I do watch the Star Wars films. I do know, my dark and light side. I have an idea what's going on, and normally I always go on opening night. But for this film, for some reason, I just didn't. And going into that cinema, it was a hot day. The tickets were booked for 5:30. And it's one of those cinemas that you can recline your big leather chair. And it's all comfy.
You do this every time, Michelle. What you need to do is find a lovely little cinema like I go to. It's a little more oldie-worldy, but it's lovely. And it doesn't have the posh seats, which means you've got to sit up and pay attention.
Yeah, but Jane, I'd even been to Starbucks and had a coffee at 5 o'clock in the afternoon to make sure I was awake.
I managed to go to a 5 to 9 at night showing and stay awake all the way through.
I took a bag of sweeties with me, so I was there with my cashew nuts, having my little cashew nuts every now and again, eating them super slowly rather than just eating them before the trailers had even finished. I had a bottle of water. I didn't gulp it because I didn't want to go to the toilet. Maybe I should have done, it would have woken me up. So we had a little game on the old Facebook-a-rooney, sort of saying, what time do you think Michelle will fall asleep?
And go on then, what time was it? How long did you last?
47 minutes.
47 minutes?
Yeah.
It's not bad for you, really, to be fair, love.
True. And as Nick Branch did point out, that it was a bit of a lull in the story at that particular time anyway. Around about 40 minutes, it was a little bit... Yeah, but yeah, Jennifer Cole is going to be getting the goodies, so I'm just waiting on her address, and I'll send something in. But, Caroline Gray, 35 minutes. Hello, 35 minutes. Thomas Stidman, 20 minutes. Wendy Cooper, 33 minutes. Wendy knows me.
Yeah, I'm going to leave it there, Michelle. Wendy knows you. Yeah. There you go.
Claire Green, 17 minutes.
Well, all right, then. Yeah, that's probably taking it a little bit too far.
Yeah. Tom, who was sat next to me, posted 35 minutes.
Well, I assume that was a decoy answer.
Yeah, it was still wrong. Yeah, I don't know what it's been. I've had this condition for about 14 years, and it's not just Disney films. I get all nice and snug, and I just...
Oh, bless you.
And the first thing I know is drool coming out the side of my mouth, and my head's bobbed forward, or Tom sort of elbowed me in the ribs. It's just one of those things. I can't help it.
Not a good look, though, Michelle.
Oh.
But can I ask, did you actually enjoy the film?
I did, but I think I missed a chunk about the whole Kira story. And oh my word, fantastic cast.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I have to say, I mean, obviously I am probably the bigger of the Star Wars fans between you and I, but I absolutely loved Solo. I thought it was brilliant from start to finish, and I was really hesitant about Alden Ehrenreich, whatever his name is, 'cause I can't pronounce it, playing Solo. I wasn't sure I was going to like it, but actually I didn't even think about it. It just seemed to roll really well together, and loved Donald Glover as Lando as well. I thought he was fantastic.
Yeah, I must have got my actors mixed up because I kept on hearing about Donald Glover, and I was thinking Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, you do know he's playing a younger Lando, therefore that one.
And I just kept on hearing all these people saying all these things about how amazing Donald Glover is as Lando, and I'm thinking, he must be drawing his pension. How's that gonna work? And then I kept waiting for Donald Glover to sort of like come in and sort of complain about rigs and all of this stuff to do with Lethal Weapon, and it was like, oh, wrong Donald Glover.
There really is no hope for some people. I can only apologise to our listeners on Michelle's behalf for her lack of movie knowledge.
And yes, I do know. It's Danny Glover. But saying that though, Jane, Candy Newton, outstanding.
Oh, yeah.
Woody Harrelson, outstanding. Amazing. I was so impressed. I absolutely loved it. And since we're talking about films... It sort of segues in really, really nicely. We all know I am potty about our lovely friends, Kat and Lewis from Diz Down Under. Well, Lewis also does a new podcast called Unscripted, the Film Show Podcast.
Oh, right, okay.
And I listened to it on Saturday, actually, before I went to go and see the film. And they gave a really good chat about this and other films, but in such a way that it didn't spoil it if you hadn't seen it. And the collective on the show is so enthusiastic and knowledgeable about the media of film. I highly recommend film lovers download it, give it a go. It's Unscripted, the Film Show Podcast, and it's got obviously our lovely Lewis.
Right. I might give that one a little bit of a listen myself.
Absolutely. So, yeah, Solo, however, I've got some figures here, Jane.
Yes.
Before opening weekend, I gathered there was like analysts predicting that this film was going to take about $130 million to $150 million on its debut weekend. It raised $103 million. Well, that's still not bad.
Yeah, I must admit, we've been watching the figures coming in, and there's been a lot of criticism because it hasn't reached those heady heights of what they were expecting it to reach. And it's a little bit like, but it was still the #1 box office film for the weekend. It was up against Deadpool 2, which has been doing astonishingly well. Marvel Affinity War, whatever it's called, is still out there and still raking in big numbers. It got an awful lot of competition. Plus, as well, there's an awful lot of feedback saying that, in hindsight, it was perhaps released too soon to The Last Jedi. And that historically you've tended to have a Star Wars movie once every year, 18 months. And perhaps this came in a little bit too early. Because I would hate for these not quite as good as expected box office takings to maybe put a halt on other standalone Star Wars movies that might be in the offing, thinking, oh, well, because Solo didn't do as well as expected, therefore... we won't now make, the Boba Fett movie that's just been announced, or, the Obi-Wan Kenobi with Ewan McGregor in, which you must make because I love Ewan McGregor. But anyway, so I hope they kind of take it with a bit of a realistic view as to maybe why it's not performed as well as expectation.
And as long as they're making a profit on it, surely that's enough motivation.
Well, yeah, and I mean, being very close to the Star Wars community through our costuming groups, etc., I'm very aware that Star Wars fans seem very, very happy with this movie. And I even know people that weren't as enamoured with Last Jedi are now loving Solo. From a Star Wars fan community who, at the end of the day, they're the people that are going to go out and buy all your merchandise. They're the people who are going to be visiting Galaxy's Edge, etc. If you're keeping them happy, then your money's going to be all right, isn't it?
Beautifully segueing in now to the next bit of news that I have. about Galaxy's Edge. There was the Galactic Nights Galaxy's Edge panel thing earlier on, and they made the big announcement about the village that's going to be in Galaxy Edge, and they've released the name.
Yeah, let's see if I can remember this right. Is it Black Spire?
Black Spire Outpost. And the sort of press release says the following. It's the largest settlement on the planet Batu.
Mm-hmm.
It's an infamous stop for traders, adventurers and smugglers travelling around the outer rim and wild space. It's off the beaten path, and this outpost has become a haven for the galaxy's most colourful and notorious characters. Widely known for the petrified remains of its once towering ancient trees, the spires now stand guard across the river valleys and plains and have long captured the imagination of travellers to this planet. To the first settlers, these petrified spires became more than just landmarks, they became the heart of the outpost itself. So we have a little bit of backstory. We know it's going to be opening in Disneyland. They're saying late summer. Because Americans class summer sort of start in May time, late summer could be July, August.
It could be, yeah.
But still not a proper date.
No.
And for the Walt Disney World, they're saying late fall. Well, late fall could be as early as August or could be as late as November.
Yeah, it's all kind of very woolly at the moment, isn't it? But at least we've got an idea of when it's likely to be.
True.
I'm sure, obviously, when they're more happy with how things are progressing, I'm sure there'll be lots of hype about actual opening and soft openings, etc.
And the tickets that they will be charging to get into said place.
No doubt.
And this is why I'm very cautious about booking a trip for next year, purely because if you go to Disneyland and it's open, it's going to be mental, and you may have to pay extra to get to see Star Wars. If you go to Walt Disney World, it possibly won't be open.
Yeah.
And then you sort of think, well, yes, you're having the whole wonders of Walt Disney World, but you're going to have to go back again quite soon because you've missed out on Star Wars.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it?
You know, with all this building work going on, it's sort of posing a lot of questions to where I'm going to be trying to think about a future trip.
Well, I suppose for us guys as well, coming from the UK, and particularly for you and I, Michelle, where we're tied to certain times of the year that we can make it, it does make you wonder if Disney World particularly isn't going to be till much later on in 2019. Is it worthwhile holding off till summer 2020, isn't it?
Or possibly even a bit later on, because there's so many things coming to Walt Disney World.
Right.
You've got the gondolas coming, you've got the Tron coaster, you know, all of these things. I'm sort of maybe, try not to, the other half hear me, maybe shelve a Walt Disney World trip for a 2-3 year period now, and maybe have the opportunity to go and visit other Disney parks in the world I have not been to.
I can't think where you may be insinuating, Michelle.
Hong Kong and Tokyo, Hong Kong and Tokyo. Oh, I'm so excited. I'll calm down now.
Yeah, it would be a good excuse. I can see where your thinking's going there.
You know, decisions are, you know, and then it comes to the flight. Oh my word, we thought America was expensive to fly to.
Yeah.
Whew. Anyway, we will move on. And
okay.
I had an email the other day from a good friend of mine, and she was talking to me about this issue that had happened in Disneyland.
Right, okay.
And what's that? It's with regards to a stroller. Now, I know neither of us have a stroller to push around in our life anymore.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, we've been there, we've done that.
Yeah.
We've got the T-shirt.
Move along now, yeah.
Yeah, we just don't have a place for it. However, a lot of our listeners still do. And I really do think we need to do this as like a public service announcement to say, be careful if you are utilising a stroller in the theme parks.
Oh, right. Why? What's happened?
Okay, this is over in Disneyland.
Right.
And this family had taken a Keen's stroller. Now, for those of you who are like me, and I had to sort of pick up the old telephone and type in, what is a Keen's stroller? I had not a clue.
No, me neither.
But basically, a Keen's stroller is like, you know those little wagons that you see people with the little canopies?
Oh, right,
and kids
yeah.
can sit in it. Well, as providing you can push it it's allowed in the theme park.
Right.
And I imagine these things cost quite a bit of money.
They'll be
Okay.
bespoke almost, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah. So this family had gone to Disney's California Adventure and they'd packed it up and basically it was stolen.
It was stolen in Disneyland.
It was stolen in Disneyland. The lady believes she knows who stole it, okay, because she saw someone else pushing it around, okay, and they were able to sort of say, well, mine had this sort of issue with it. Yeah, it's the exact same one, okay.
But how do you prove whose it is, I suppose?
Well, where would you go to?
Guest services?
Or perhaps on the exit of the park to security.
Yeah.
And basically, that's what she did, and security did not get involved.
Oh.
They did nothing. This other family, and I'm not saying this other family did actually steal their stroller, because I wasn't there, I don't know, I'm only reporting what I've seen. Yeah. But basically, she thought this other family had got her stroller, and security just let this other family through, and she basically had to leave the theme park without a stroller. A very expensive stroller. You would expect that security would have got involved and just sort of said, Madam, have you anything, to prove that this is your stroller, and make some sort of challenge on it. So what I'm basically raising this for is, if you are going to take your own stroller, please ensure your name is etched on it, so that if this happens, you know it's yours.
I was going to say exactly the same thing. I suppose it's a difficult one for security because it possibly would come down to a he said, she said situation. So I can appreciate it would have been nice to think that they would have tried to have established what had happened and come to an arrangement.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you, Michelle. It needs to be you need to be able to mark your property some way. It's not just, don't just put a label on it. You need something permanent that cannot be removed to, whether you put go faster stripes on it or something, I don't know, but something to distinguish yours, postcode, zip code, whatever.
And I know this sounds like I'm being a bit OCD with this, but perhaps a picture of you stood next to this etching on the stroller in your phone, so that if it does get stolen, you can show to security, look, here's me, here's this identifying mark which is on my stroller, that person there's got my stroller, that's mine, here's the evidence. That's unquibblable then, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a sad state of affairs that you have to think about these things and go to those sorts of lengths, but if you're paying out for something that's rather expensive, then you don't want to run the risk of somebody walking off with it. Then it, for 5 minutes of your time, it's probably worthwhile doing, isn't it?
Yeah, and of course we know that you can get the little locks, but you can only use them to lock the wheels. You can't use them to tie them up to Disney property.
Yes, yeah. So somebody could still literally pick it up and walk off, couldn't they?
Yeah. Yeah, I just thought I'd mention that. That was just something that sort of came to mind. So anyway, let's move on.
Okay.
Over in Walt Disney World, we have got the Incredibles summer celebration starting.
Yeah.
And it's all tying in with Incredibles 2, which comes to the US theatres on June 15th.
Mm-hmm.
And surprisingly, it's released in the UK on the same day.
The same day?
The same day. I don't know why they couldn't do it with Coco, but...
I say, have they had a bit of a mental flip or something? Because that doesn't normally happen.
Yeah, so to tie all this in, there's going to be all sorts of things happening. Quite a lot over in Tomorrowland. Your typical dance party and that sort of thing. But the thing I'm really, really excited about is the Edna Mode meet and greet. Have you seen it?
I have, yeah.
Now, I must admit, I don't like the face. I think the face is a bit freaky.
Yeah.
It looks like her, completely does. The outfit, the costuming is brilliant. But because obviously she's got to have a full face mask rather than it being a face character, I just think it looks a bit...
Yeah, you can't do it otherwise.
A bit scary, but I do think it's amazing how they've brought her to life.
Oh, God, yeah. I think I'm in total agreement. And I love the character as well. It is performed and acted so well. So, it'd be interesting to see how it actually translates to a character in the parks, and say it does look the part. Whether they can get over the character with it as well would be interesting to see. But yeah, very cool opportunity.
And this is obviously tying in with DCA over in Disneyland Resort because of Pixar Fest, and she's going to go over there too.
Nice. Yeah.
As part of the Walt Disney World summer campaign, they've brought out some themed food.
Just for a change, eh? It wouldn't be Disney without some themed food, would it?
I know, and I had to laugh at some of them.
Okay, go on.
Okay. There's a burger called the Super Stretchy Burger.
Right, yeah.
Now, I sort of imagined it being the world's biggest burger, because then they've stretched the burger.
Stretch it, yeah.
But no, Disney have gone down the cheese stretchy burger. So it's got mozzarella for the stretch, and American cheese, bacon, and a very garlicky ranch sauce.
Okay.
It sounds nice. That's over at Starlight Race Cafe.
Nice, yeah.
Now, the tie-in to Edna Mode...
It's got to be ice cream based, surely.
Oh, it's ice cream based. Crepes, not capes. And you can choose between a chocolate hazelnut crepe or a lavender blackberry jam crepe. And these are both put into a sundae. So you've got like the crepe, the ice cream, and then for some reason it's covered in coloured Fruit Loops.
I'll leave the Fruit Loops, thank you.
Yeah, $6.99. Looks pretty tasty though.
Yeah.
There's also going to be an Incredibles mask-shaped pretzel.
Okay.
Now, for me, this just is theming just a little bit too much because it's this figure of 8 pretzel. And I'm sorry, if I'm going to have a pretzel, I want a proper shaped pretzel or a Mickey-shaped pretzel.
I can say it's got to be Mickey, hasn't it, really? Yeah.
But you know why it's been done in that shape?
Why?
For the blogger Artie to get a picture of this pretzel and put it over the face and put it all over Instagram.
Yeah.
That one is $5.69 from the lunching pad.
Mm-hmm.
There's other offerings as well, but I just picked out those because they just sort of tickled me a little bit. I thought they were funny.
Yeah.
So let's hop back over to Disneyland.
Okay.
And something we do like to talk about a great deal is their afternoon teas.
Oh, okay.
And they will be having an afternoon tea themed around Pixar, which started a couple of days ago on the 1st of June, and it runs all the way through to the 2nd of September. So maybe, Kat and Lewis, you might want to go and check this out. So you've got Pixar-themed scones, salads, tea sandwiches, pastry, and other sweet things. And I've seen some like macarons and strawberries dipped in coloured chocolate. It looks really good.
Yeah.
$52.
52, wow, okay.
Yeah. I wonder if they'll let me order the kids' tea party at $35.
So it's a nice price point.
So it'll be interesting to see some pictures coming up on the old interwebs showing that off to see what people think to it. And again, you can't go wrong with a bit of Disney theming normally. A little bit of Newswire chat has been saying about Whispering Canyon over at the Wilderness Lodge turning back its calls for ketchup.
Yeah, it's kind of rumoured, isn't it, that they're going to stop all the interactive element completely. Is what I'd read somewhere, which seems a shame because that was one of the selling points, surely, of Whispering Canyon. I know it's that weird one where if you end up being there and you haven't researched, it may not be what you want to be in the middle of. But I think we mentioned this on a show not so long ago. There is a plethora of restaurants that you can go to that don't have this interactive element. A restaurant with an interactive element is actually very much more so in the minority, and I think a lot of people will be quite sad if it follows through and they take this element away. I have eaten there with all the frivolity going on around, and I actually loved it. I thought it was great fun, and again, you can choose how far to get involved with it because there are certain lines that if you give your waiter, they're going to respond in a certain way, and if you do your research beforehand, then you know what not to say if you don't want to get involved.
Well, we had breakfast there on our last trip together, and the server sort of saw that we were there without children, and, you know, we weren't bothered with any of it. But I think that it's a shame to take it away. I think the reason is going to be because it's an open plan restaurant, really, out into the beautiful foyer. Yeah. And the noise will be annoying those people above.
I mean, having stayed there, you are aware of it at key points, you know, during the day, but I can't say that it ever disturbed my stay there. And we were in and out of that foyer at random times during the day. We were a couple of floors up, I think. We weren't that far actually from the central point from our room, and it never disturbed us in that respect.
Well, if it is due to that, all they need to do is put up a bit of MDF,
Oh God, yeah. Screen
bit
it
of
off a little bit.
soundproofing, put up some, artwork to disguise it a bit, and have it closed off. And then, the people who want to go there and have this frivolity, have this little bit of interaction, have this fun, are able to do that because it links in to 50s Primetime Diner, who have a similar kind of sort of vibe going on, where you're told to take your elbows off the table and put away your mobile phone and that sort of thing. Is that what's going to be hit next? Because if Disney are trying to move away from that,
I think it would be a shame if they did. And again, like you said, these restaurants are in the minority. They're fairly well advertised that that's what you're getting into. So if you don't like it, don't book it. And I just hope that Disney aren't kowtailing to a small minority who've gone and mouthed off and complained, when actually, had they've, done their research, or at least, and you don't have to do an extensive amount of research to realise what these restaurants are all about. You can even get the vibe just walking in. If you realise when you walk in, oh, crikey, this isn't for me. As you say, you mentioned to your servers, they would go out of their way not to involve you in it.
Because at the end of the day, the servers just want you to have the best time possible. And if you do, you're more likely then to leave a nice little gratuity for them.
Exactly. It's in their interest to make sure you're looked after the way you want to be looked after.
Absolutely. Well, I think that is about it. We are going to put a big old bow on this week's show. If you want to have some extra cruise line chat and some more Disney chat from Jayne and myself, you may want to visit our Patreon page and consider putting in a few dollars on a monthly basis to help support the show. Otherwise, you can always contact us in the usual manner, info@disneydreamgirls.com, at DisDreamGirls or Disney_Dream_Girls on Instagram, and our Facebook page, Disney Dream Girls. But until next time, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.